Today, uh, I'm going to talk about digital poverty and how digital poverty can convert into real world poverty. So, digital poverty in my means uh, have, translates into not having realization of commercial value and security, including physical security, uh, impact that arises out of having no control over your data. So, for example, in Pakistan, we have not got any infrastructure that can ensure that all our data, all our personal data, including, our location data, our health records, our confidential, um, uh, you know, our confidential business records and all the other things, our tax records and other things, uh, they stay uh, within Pakistan. So, for example, if you are an ordinary person, you are making WhatsApp call, you are using Google, you are using Android phone, all your data is going abroad. There is no government policy that can regulate that, Pakistan's data or Pakistani citizens' data has to stay in Pakistan. Even I mean, there is no regulation that says okay that Pakistan government's data has to stay in Pakistan. So in many cases, what you would be seeing is that public servants would be using Gmail, they would be using other freely available email services and sending and receiving documents, all that. Probably prime minister and other important ministers, they are using WhatsApp, and there is no regulation on WhatsApp on where it's gonna store the data and how it's gonna use the data. So I mean, everybody without thinking about it, uses digital applications, and the data goes. I mean, probably it's being used by India, America, anybody else to undermine our national security, our economy, or I mean take undue benefit out of that. Important people can be blackmailed and so on. So, I mean, the ultimate result of digital poverty is destruction of the society, destruction of the country, but nobody seems to understand that. So, digital poverty means having no relevant regulation that can control where your data is going to be stored, how it might be used, not having the infrastructure such as data centers within your own, within your own legal domain. So that would mean that Pakistan's data has to stay within Pakistan. Could be anywhere. It could, the data center could be in the sea, but within Pakistani sea limits. It could be in anywhere. It could be in Balochistan, Sindh, KP, anywhere, but it has to be in Pakistan. So there are no such regulations. Then obviously the use of data, how you can use the data. There are no uh, regulations that how that data might be used. Probably data can be used to exploit people, to destroy our society, anything like that. But nobody is taking any care about that. Also, it means that not only that we don't have data centers where our public and private data should be contained, we are not restricting organizations who are collecting data into making sure that they have means to store Pakistani data or citizens of Pakistan data, Pakistan's government data, and all the other data that is being collected from Pakistan within Pakistan's space. Pakistan's legal and physical space. Also, we don't have digital infrastructure to support our government functions. So we're still relying on pen and paper. The paper has to move from one office to another. So in this day and age, unless we can move things, decisions and you know uh, how we move paper from one office to another digitally and sign it digitally, we are not going to survive, especially in this kind of COVID-19 circumstances. Also, we have to support our hospitals with digital infrastructure. So there should be a health cloud where all the health related information is contained, is logged, and you know, then it is basically used and it should stay within Pakistan. So all hospitals should be, you know, uh, legally bound to collect relevant information about patients and other aspects, and then obviously store it within Pakistan, and the information should be available to the government, to decision makers. But obviously, the information usage should be controlled legally so that it cannot be used in any illegal way, and so on. Apart from that, obviously, we need an education cloud that that basically helps our children learn. So it should support audio, video, other digital content. It should have forums and so on. So such education cloud should make sure that all of Pakistani citizens, all of our children have access to such content without any discrimination. So, for example, government schools, etc., have to rely on a public education cloud that that has all the content, and that enables schools to basically run their classes online and so on. So obviously you don't expect that, and you should not even allow our schools that they use, for example, uh, Google Classroom or other indefinitely. I mean, you should give them the relevant tools on a Pakistani government supported platform that that ensures that our content, our students' data, and all the information uh, uh, is within Pakistan, and we have full control over that. Just imagine that, for example, tomorrow we are cut off from the world. So let's say we don't have access to WhatsApp, we don't have access to Zoom, we don't have access to the learning management systems that are hosted outside Pakistan. Then how are we going to survive? So all these issues have to be carefully considered. We have to develop our own digital infrastructure, we have to secure our own digital infrastructure, and we have to legally regulate use of Pakistani citizens' data, Pakistan government data. Who knows how uh, our location information that is being collected may be used against Pakistan. So they know probably, where um, uh, our key military personnel are, how are they moving, so they can, they analyze their location and movement information and use it against us. And obviously, we don't have any alternatives to WhatsApp, Zoom, and Android and everything. So unless we make sure that our information stays within Pakistan, and we have the digital infrastructure for that, this is going to seriously impact us. In the short run as well as in the long run. In the same way, obviously, government is concerned about unemployment, but it has no means to collect data. I mean, it has to work with online job portals such as Rosie, and ask them to collect, you know, uh, employment data for not only the white collar jobs, but also for the labor classes. So I mean, we have to create programs where data for labor classes, including masons, carpenters, ordinary laborers, factory workers, is collected by job portals such as Rosie and so on, and they share it with the government, and then the government basically verifies it. There should be some standards according to which such data is collected, and is actually reliable, and not only the data is collected, but it is also it is also basically maintained, housed, stored physically within Pakistan. So government has to take these steps, and these steps have to be taken on war footing. Apart from that, I mean, another aspect of our digital poverty obviously is our poor digital infrastructure, such as bandwidth and so on. So I mean, most of our uh, you know mobile service providers, they have poor bandwidth. The quality of the bandwidth is really inconsistent, and there is no real government monitoring audit of how much bandwidth is available, and if people are continuously experiencing poor bandwidth, then how to regulate that. Even PTCL and other organizations, they are providing extremely poor services in many areas, but government does not really measure the quality of service, and do take any steps to help to force them to improve their services. So government has to take this aspect into account as well. So there should be a comprehensive plan and policies to ensure that our data is contained within Pakistan. We have to take on board all segments of society, including labor classes, onto digital platforms. We have to give incentives, as well as regulate I mean, various essential services, such as digital employment bureaus like Rosie.com and others, to store our data within Pakistan. We also have to regulate e-commerce platforms to store our all of our data within Pakistan. And we have to work with international giants such as Google, Facebook, etc., to establish their data centers. All of them, to establish their data centers within Pakistan, to store our data within Pakistan, and to use it, within the limits set by our rules, regulations, etc. So that, I mean, our data, our content is not used against that. Thank you very much. I hope somebody would listen to it and devise policies, regulations, plans to you know to make sure that we can move out of digital poverty, because at the end of the day, a digitally poor society would become a less developed and poor society in the real world sense. Thank you very much.